Hey guys, it's Monica. So I only did this because Dulce asked. A lot of my friends actually knew that I liked girls in high school. I always thought I was bi up until 2013, just because it was easier. I came from a military family, and so my dad did almost 27 years in the Air Force. So I mean, don't ask, don't tell. Growing up military, thinking I'm gonna go into the military, my ex being a Marine, that was a big proponent in me not telling anybody. And then I went to college and learned that it was like a lot more freer. You can do whatever. It doesn't really matter. So then I started telling people I was bi. By this point, I had slept with a few different girls. A lot of them are still, I'm really good friends with them still. I even tried to date one of them, but she wouldn't go for it. Anyways, so throughout high school and college, I dated this one dude, and we ended up being like high school sweethearts, and everybody fully expected us to get married, and so we did. But then 2013 happened, and that's when I went to Japan. My brother was born, Miles, and I did not want to go. I wanted to be there for my mom and watch him grow up, and I've always had this irrational fear that they're going to forget who I am, even though that's not true. And so it was a really big fight that we had for the longest, and I ultimately just gave up and was like, fine, I'll go. So I went to Japan, which I had a lot of fun, and that's actually where I met my ex. We started like dating on the low because, like I said, don't ask, don't tell was still in effect. It was like right before Obama had repealed it. And so being with her made me realize that I was like really lying to myself. I had always thought penis was weird, as awkward as that is probably to say in here. Like, the only way for me to describe it is how some gay men react to like women and vagina and periods and like just disgustingness and freaking out of. That's how I feel. So her and I started hanging out and we started dating, and that's essentially when I realized like I am not being true to myself. So I asked for a divorce, and after a like restraining order from him to her and this big hot mess of a situation, I got my divorce, and I had to tell my parents that I was coming back home. And mind you, I'm like 24, 25 when this all happened. So I get on Skype and I'm talking to my mom and dad, just letting them know how life is before I drop these two bombs on them. So my dad leaves the room and I'm talking to my mom and I'm like, hey Amy, like I have to tell you something. And she's like, okay, what? And like, of course, you know, as a mom, she's probably like thinking I have cancer or something crazy. But she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm dating a girl. And she said, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm dating a girl. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, are you happy? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, what about your ex? And I was like, and we're getting a divorce, and it's gonna happen in Guam, and I'm probably gonna be home in the next like 6 months. And she was like, okay, the divorce I expected, the dating the girl not so much. That's kind of surprising, but okay, whatever. As long as you're happy and you're healthy, and that's all that matters. Let us know like when you're coming home so we can plan for that and all of that jazz. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So my dad comes back in the other room, in the living room. He had to go and change Olivia. And I was like, hey dad, I have to tell you something. And he said, what? And I was like, I'm dating a girl and I'm getting a divorce. He's like, I already heard all that. I heard you tell Amy that when I was changing your sister. Like, why did you tell us separately? And I was like, well, you know, I just wanted to kind of like tell Amy first and like test run it out just to see like how she would react. And then from there, I would tell you. And, you know, we have that whole military background and I was going to go and he's Marine and just all of this stuff. It was just, I didn't want to be a disappointment to you. And he was like, Monica, you're never going to be a disappointment. We love you. As long as you're happy and like everything's good, then that's all we care about. We don't care about who you're sleeping with or anything of that nature. So telling them was a breeze. They were really cool about it and they were really chill, which I was actually really surprised. I think the like funniest part of it is afterwards, a lot of my friends that I went to high school with, I'm still really good friends with them. One of them at the time was our hairstylist. She cut everybody's hair, gave Miles his first haircut, and like cut my hair for years. I wouldn't let anybody else touch it, blah, blah, blah. So my mom's getting her haircut and she's like, hey, Ashley, so Monica's dating a girl. And Ashley was like, oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. And like had to play it off. And then I had another friend who she ran into. I actually slept with her several times. And my mom's like, oh, hey, Megan, like so-and-so. Did you know Monica's dating a girl? It's so weird. I never knew. But to me, I'm just like, Amy, I had all the signs. Like I played sports. I was wearing one of my girlfriend at the time was wearing her ring on my wedding finger. Like, how could you be so oblivious? And actually, when I told a few friends, they were like, yeah, baby girl, we already knew. We were just waiting for you to catch up. So everybody was not surprised. I was also pissed that everybody knew before I did and didn't bother to tell me. So, but yeah, that's my coming out story. If you want to hear Daniel's from the Valentine's Day game that I played, he's actually married to my cousin. If you ever want to laugh to hear his, let me know and I can share that as well, because it is actually probably more entertaining than mine is. Yeah, so peace out, Cub Scouts.